What is going on? Welcome to this week's episode of the 1 Second of Strength podcast. I'm grateful you're here. It's me and Putter today. Hey, puppy. Hi, puppy dog. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I have a golden retriever who follows me everywhere I go, including into the basement when we record a podcast. So I'm grateful you're here. Grateful you're spending some of these seconds with me. I just truly believe that you have the power in 1 second of strength to change your life. 1 second that could help me is if you just pause this for just a second and go to wherever you're listening and subscribe to the show and leave a rating and review. It helps me a ton. Even if you don't want to leave a review because it takes too long, just give it a 5-star rating. It helps. But today we're going to talk about something. So I am in the process of writing a book. If you don't know that, I will put in the show notes a spot where you can get on the wait list for the book. But I'm writing a book. And one of the parts of the book, as I was reading and reviewing back today, talks about avoidance, and there's a hidden cost of avoidance. And whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult, there's a hidden cost of avoidance that that can make life harder for you. And there's a couple reasons why we avoid things. We'll get into that a little bit, but for today, I want you to just focus on the things that you're avoiding and what ultimately it's costing you and the hidden cost of it. When I was little, I played Little League Baseball. I was a pretty good little athlete. Definitely not going pro by any means, but I loved playing. I love basketball. I love baseball. And one day I was up to bat and I was facing off against one of the hardest throwing pitchers in our little league. And I got up there, I'm not sure I had a ton of confidence, but I got up there ready to go. And first pitch, low inside, and I just was not fast enough to get out of the way. It hit me right in the ankle. I fell down. I was in a ton of pain. Coach came over, umpire, you okay? Can you keep moving? Can you play? Do we need to get a pinch runner? What do you need to do? And I shrugged him off. I went to first base. I limped over to first base, and I kept playing on this. Well, turns out this had a major impact on my life. And here's the reason why. So I kept playing on it week after week. And what had happened was that when that ball hit me, it had actually done internal damage to my ankle, and the pain kind of kept ongoing for weeks and weeks and weeks and months. And I never told my parents. I never said anything about it. I just kept moving on because that's what kids do, right? Well, turns out a few years later, I told my mom finally that this was really hurting me, and I actually had to get my ankle surgically repaired to be able to move on with life. I developed calcium deposits. It had not healed the correct way, but I just avoided it. I avoided the problem. I put it out of mind, even though it was painful. Even though it hurt, I just kept avoiding the issue because it felt like I could manage okay. And it felt like hard conversation to have. And I didn't really know what it all meant. So I just kept going. Well, the challenge is this. When we avoid things in our lives, one of the biggest hidden costs of avoidance is that it creates hesitation that keeps us from moving forward towards what we want most in our lives. And it ultimately can adjust who you are and who you believe you are and the stories you tell yourself. So fast forward a couple of years later, I went and did a church service mission. I lived in Mexico for a couple of years, and there's a ton of walking. We don't have cars or bikes or like we just walked around all day long. And I was walking on dirt, uneven streets and cobblestones. Like it was a lot of walking, a lot of pain. And within the first 2 months, I started telling myself this story, and I kept saying, man, that ankle really, really hurts. Every day it's causing pain. Every day, you're not strong enough. And then I told myself, and this was one of the hardest mistakes that I had to overcome in my life. I told myself, you are not strong enough to do this. You can't make it through another, 23 months, 22 months of this. The pain is too great. You're not strong enough. You need to go home. And my mind started repeating this negative story over and over and over and over again till I got to the point where I called my parents. I went to a doctor in Mexico. They did x-rays again. And the doctor kind of said, well, everything looks the same. I don't know. He said it in Spanish. Maybe I didn't really understand what he said, but I basically kept going. But in that moment, what I had to do was I had to stop telling myself the old story of avoidance and pain and I wasn't good enough. And I had to rewrite a new story in my mind. And when we are constantly avoiding difficult decisions, difficult conversations in our life, we are constantly telling ourselves a story and putting a narrative in our mind that we are just not that person. I'm not good enough. I can't do it, whatever it is. So there's this hidden cost of avoidance. To overcome that, there has to be a pattern interrupt. I call that, as you know, the name of the podcast, I call that your 1 second of strength. I believe you have the power in 1 second of strength to stop telling yourself the things that aren't true and tell yourself something else. You are strong enough. You can overcome this. And when I started to shift my mindset in that, I stopped believing that I wasn't strong enough to walk those cobblestone streets. I started believing that I could get through this, even though there was a little bit of discomfort. And I ended up, going through the rest of this service mission and having it changed my life. And to think that for a moment there, in the very beginning, I was going to give up because it was hard. I wanted to avoid the pain. And it wasn't even the pain. It was really, I wanted to avoid the difficulty of being there. And I kept telling myself the story, and I would have missed out on what was a life-changing opportunity. And so we have to choose to find our 1 second of strength and stop telling ourselves those things, stop avoiding, stop hesitating, and then make the choice to move forward. In my book that I'm writing, here's the quote. It says, every time you use your 1 second of strength to choose action over avoidance, you're not just affecting that single moment, you're sending yourself a new signal about who you are and what you are capable of. And I think that's it. When you choose to overcome that avoidance, just say, hey, nope, keep going. And I believe you have the power in 1 second of strength to choose to move forward, That's the premise of your 1 second of strength. Make the choice to move forward. Then once you do that, you are sending yourself a new signal. Now the signal that you've sent yourself is, hey, I'm strong enough to do hard things. I'm strong enough to not stop in the moment, but keep going. I am strong enough to move forward. I am a person who accomplishes great things despite the challenge, despite the difficulty. And so we have to choose to move forward. And the reality is that we are avoiding a lot of things in life. We are avoiding difficult conversations. We are avoiding putting in time and energy and effort into the things that we want to do because instant gratification is so simple, and there's a digital component to this. We are avoiding, whether it's work or promotion or school or life, or we are avoiding so many things. And there's a study from the University of California that says that when we avoid things, it is actually 4 times harder when we actually confront the situation that we are confronting. And if you think about it like interest on your credit card, if you are racking up your credit card and you're only paying the minimum balance, which means you are avoiding paying the full cost of the decisions to buy something, then by the time you actually pay, you are actually paying X amount times more. You're paying the compound interest of that. And the reality is that the compound interest of avoidance has ripple effects to every other aspect of your life. It will affect your relationship. It'll affect the people in your life. It'll affect the people you love. The people who are watching you and looking to you as an example, those people are going to be affected because they're going to see and they're going to notice the avoidance patterns that's happening in your life. So we have to get to a point in our life where we choose and we find our 1 second of strength to completely move forward. And when we do that, you start sending yourself a new signal about who you are and what you're capable of. And even if it's scary, even if it's difficult, in that moment where you choose to move forward, overcome avoidance, overcome the hesitation, then that next step of your life is going to be so much easier. Another piece of the book says a choice chosen eliminates fear and anxiety. So if you're scared of that next step, you just have to make a choice and then move forward, and you realize that it wasn't that scary. And this narrative that you're building in your mind is what truly is scary. So here's 5 questions. I want you to just think about these questions, okay? And as you do this, if you're not driving, write them down. If you need to pause this after each question so you can give it just a minute or 2 of thought, then do it. But these 5 questions are going to help you overcome avoidance and honestly shape your future. So here we go. Number 1, write this down. What specifically have you been avoiding in your life? Give it some thought. Maybe it is a difficult conversation. Maybe it's a conversation with your boss. Maybe it's a conversation with one of your coaches. Maybe it's a conversation with one of your kids, or if you're a teenager, with your parent. Something that's been on your mind that you've been avoiding, because we avoid because we're afraid of the reaction that other people are going to have. We start building up this narrative in our mind that if I say this, if I do this, then the worst possible thing could happen. We start catastrophizing. I don't even know how to say that word. Catastrophizing what's going to happen. And so we instead make that decision to not do anything. So what specifically have you been avoiding? That's question number 1. Question number 2, how long have you been avoiding it? Think about it. Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it a month? Are you disguising avoidance as building up the courage, right? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And the reality is that courage is always going to keep you stuck until you find your 1 second of strength to choose to just do it anyway, right? If you need to write that email, if you need to write that text message or whatever, or pick up the phone and push that call button, which nobody really seems to do today. But if you need to call someone and you do it, then that's the courage. That's your 1 second of strength. So how long have you been avoiding it? That's number 2. Number 3, what has this avoidance cost you so far? There is a cost, always, to avoidance. It could be truly financial. It could be emotional. It could be your thoughts and this narrative that you're believing that you're not good enough anymore, or that you're not the kind of person that does those things. It could be a ripple effect that the cost of your avoidance is impacting your family, your kids, your parents. So what is the cost of avoidance? What is it? What has avoidance cost you so far? That's question number 3. Give it some thought. Number 4, what might it cost you in the future if nothing changes? And this is the real crux of it, right? If you choose to not have that difficult conversation, the other person continues on with life. You're the one that harbors the negative energy. You're the one that sits in frustration. The other person does not. They move forward with their life. So what is that hidden cost? The cost that if you do nothing, if you keep procrastinating, if you keep avoiding it, if you keep hesitating, if you do nothing, what is it going to cost you in the future if nothing changes? Could it cost you, trust with your kids? If you don't have that conversation, that tough conversation with your kids about social media or some of the things that they're doing in a negative way or whatever, because you're worried about breaking trust, or you don't, but my kids like me right now. If I say this, they're not going to they're going to be mad at me. And so we avoid it, right? Well, what if you don't have the conversation? What if nothing changes? Then what changes? And it might be more than you think. So that's the 4th question. And then number 5, and this is the action part. What 1 second of strength action could you take today to begin addressing that problem or overcome avoidance? It might be write the first 5 words of the email and then continue writing that email. It might be just sending the text message to the person that you need to have that tough conversation with to go, hey, do you have a minute later today to connect? Once you send that, you're going to feel better immediately, and then that conversation is coming. So what 1 second of strength action could you take today to begin addressing or to overcome the avoidance? So those 5 questions. What specifically have you been avoiding? Number 1. Number 2, how long have you been avoiding it? Number 2. Number 3, what has this avoidance cost you so far? 4, what might it cost you in the future if nothing changes? And number 5, what 1 second action can you take today, not tomorrow, today, to begin addressing. In fact, I would love for you to pause this and go and take that action right now if you can, so that you can overcome that hurdle, so you can use your 1 second of strength and see exactly how it feels to actually lean into that. So when I look back on my life and I look back on, getting hit with that pitch, and I look at, the years, literal years, I was probably 11 when that happened. I got surgery when I was about 16 or 17. And then I did my church service mission when I was 19 years old. So literally almost 10 years of my life, I avoided the pain. And and it left me with more complications and more challenges, both physical because I couldn't do some of the things I love to do, and mental because I told myself that I wasn't the strong person that could do hard things because of the pain in my ankle. Don't avoid anymore. Don't let the things that you know you need to take care of consume you. Don't let them limit who you can become. Don't let them write this narrative in your life that you're not good enough, that you're not strong enough, when you know deep down you are. But you will have to use your 1 second of strength to overcome it. You will have to make a choice right now today to push through the difficulty, to push through the anxiety of what someone's going to say, to push through all the hard things and make a choice to move forward. And when you do that, I always say, when you find your 1 second of strength to walk away from what's hurting your heart, or in this situation, when you find your 1 second of strength to overcome avoidance, the very next second will be the best second of your life, because in that second, you will feel freedom. In that second, all of that pain, all of the things that you've been harboring will lift off your shoulders, and then you get to move forward with your life, whatever that looks like, whatever you choose to make that look like. So I hope this helps you today. Like I said, it helps me a ton if you follow the show so you never miss an episode. And you go and leave a 5-star rating, so that when you do that, the algorithm of the world puts it out to more people or recommends it to more people. And I would love to help as many people as possible. And to do that as well, if you take 1 second of strength and share this with somebody in your life, could be your teenager, could be another parent, could be, I don't know, someone you need to talk to, or somebody who needs to stop avoiding something, share it with them. And I will leave you the same way I always leave you. Go find your 1 second of strength and be happy.